Hey guys, Brian from Brian Boas here. A lot of people are really confused about the growth rate of their boa and where their boa should be size-wise at different ages. Today I'm going to show you lots of different types of Boa Imperator, the common boa, by age. I'm going to start with animals that are just under a year old, like this one, count back by year of birth, going all the way back to animals that are 8 or 9 years old and fully grown. So be sure to stay tuned. So I recently did two similar videos, one where I showed you guys Suriname red tails by year to show you the sizes. I also did one on dwarf boas with a similar format, and I got a lot of really positive comments. A lot of people like these videos, so I decided to do one more in the series on Boa Imperator, the common boa. And this includes Colombian boas, morph boas, and subspecies of boa that used to be classified as boa constrictor but have been reclassified as subspecies of Boa Imperator. I'm going to start off with the 2022 babies, work my way back by year. And so to start with, we have this beautiful Colombian Kubsch Pastel boa. This guy is about 10 months old, a 2022 baby, and perfect size for this age. I would say he's maybe 2.5 feet or so. Put on maybe 8, 9, 10 inches, something like that. I don't really measure them. It's kind of hard, so don't know exactly. But I know he has put on some good size, but obviously he's not a giant. They grow slowly. I feed about every 10 to 14 days or so, and they put on the perfect amount of growth with this feeding schedule. It always amazes me. I look back at some of these older books about boa constrictors. They claim that after a year a boa should be 4 to 5 feet or something like that. That's just crazy. I mean, maybe if you're feeding it like 3 times a week, which obviously is not good for its health, but this is a good size boa for just under a year of age. And some of you guys have the siblings to this litter. This was a really beautiful litter, lots of beautiful orange colors, and really looking forward to watching this guy grow. But this shows you a good size for a Colombian boa at about 10 months of age. Before I forget, I wanted to mention that the boas I'm going to show you are just examples of boas of that age and that size. Of course, every boa grows a little bit differently, so your boa of the same age may be bigger or even smaller, depending on a lot of factors. So take this as a guide. In general, you don't need to be obsessed about the size of your boa as long as it's eating and it's putting on regular growth somewhere between about 8 and typically about 12 or 14 inches a year. Your boa is probably doing well. So on to the next boa. This is another 2022 baby. This is a morph boa, a Marron Jungle female born here back in July, same month as the Kubsch Pastel. You can see this one is a little bit bigger than the Kubsch Pastel. I found that the morph boas just grow faster. Even if you give them the same feeding schedule, they just grow faster. You can see this one is noticeably a little bit girthier. I would say, I don't know, 5-6 inches longer maybe than the Kubsch Pastel. You know, good size for a 1-year-old or 10-month-old morph boa. Incidentally, this female is still available. If you're looking for a beautiful Marron Jungle Boa, you can visit her and the rest of the available boas at my Flickr site. The link is below the video description. Okay, enough of the plug for now. But this is a nice size for a 10-month-old morph boa, this Marron Jungle. Now for some boas from 2021. This is a longtail or longicata boa from 2021, born here. And this is a subspecies of Boa Imperator, was once classified as Boa constrictor longicata. Most people now recognize them as Boa Imperator longicata. And you can see the size of this not quite 2-year-old animal. It's probably somewhere around 2.5, maybe pushing 3 feet. Incidentally, these long-tailed boas, they're going to be a little bit smaller as adults than most of the Imperator. I would say typically about 6 feet or so. And this guy is growing at a good rate. He's right where he should be for this age. The long-tail boas are also a little bit more slender than most of the other Imperator, so keep that in mind. But this gives you an idea of where a healthy, well-fed, or responsibly fed boa that's not quite 2 years old should be. Next, some boas from 2020. These ones aren't quite 3 years old. And first, this is a Barranquilla Colombia Boa. You can see she's quite a bit bigger than that long-tail boa we just looked at. So I found that these Barranquilla Colombia Boas grow faster than most of my other locality boas, even on the same feeding regimen. And she looks kind of portly. She did eat relatively recently, so she's looking a little chunky now. But you can see, I would say she's probably about 4, maybe a little over 4 feet long, and much girthier, you know, to when I'm picking her up here. This female is probably going to put on another 2, maybe 3 feet, and I would say she won't be quite ready to breed next year, but possibly the following breeding season for 2025. But we'll just have to see. But doing really well. I love these Barranquilla Boas. I've got a nice trio, and they're all doing super well. I would have gotten them earlier, you know, in my boa breeding experience, had I known how great they were. And so hopefully I'll be breeding these at some point in the future. But example of a Colombian boa, Boa Imperator, that's not quite 3 years old and is about maybe 4.5 feet long. Another 2023-year-old boa here. This guy is a Moonglow Boa, which is a combo morph of the Tail Albino, the Hypo, and the Anerythristic. And so this guy is, you can see he's probably about 5 feet, pretty good sized animal. In fact, I tried breeding this guy this year. I've heard that morph boas can breed as small as 3 feet long and, you know, not even 2 years old. Unfortunately, this guy didn't seem to show any interest, so I don't know if he's still a little too young or just wasn't interested in the girlfriend I set him up with, but maybe better luck next year. But I love these Moonglow Boas. It's definitely one of my favorite morphs. I love this beautiful pale glowing yellow color. And this guy's doing real well. Love the eyes. They've got these really light eyes as well. And right where he needs to be for a 3-year-old boa. Of course, this guy is a lot bigger than my red tails are at 3 years old. And as I mentioned, the morph boas just tend to grow a lot faster than the locality boas. Now to the year 2019. This female is actually a little over 4 years old, about 4 years and 3 months, since she was born early in 2019. And you can see she's pretty big. I'd say she's about 6 feet. This is a morph boa. It's an IMG Hypo Jungle. Really beautiful looking animal. And I would say this female is not that far away from breeding size. She may even be going to breeding trials next year for the 2024 baby boa season. We'll just have to see. But doing real well. You can see she's quite dark. I do have a Hypo IMG that I've shown in some of my other videos who's quite a bit darker. So it just varies. These IMGs can vary on their color as at adulthood, depending on the other genes they have and a lot of other factors. But this female, you can see, is noticeably chunkier. She's quite thick, quite muscular, has that more muscular square body that adult boas have. And I would say she's probably going to put on another foot, maybe 2 feet tops, but she's getting pretty close to adult size. And remember, this is a morph boa. They grow faster, so this is where she is at, just over 4 years old. One more 2019 born Boa Imperator. This is a Pearl Island Boa, Boa Imperator Serboge. And this one is quite a contrast in size from the morph boa I showed you in the last scene. So this guy, you can see, is considerably smaller. I would say he's, it's not quite that he's that much shorter. He's, you know, maybe 6 inches or so shorter, but he's quite a bit more slender. And these Serboge boas, they just are slender. They're one of the most slender, if not the most slender subspecies of boa. But they do get quite large. They're not dwarfs by any means. It's a common misconception. The mother of this animal is probably about 7.5 or 8 feet, so they are a good sized boa. But you can just see how much smaller he is at the same age compared to that morph boa I just showed you. And as I mentioned earlier, the morph boas do grow faster in general. And I think that it's because they've been selectively bred over time, generation after generation, for faster growth. Of course, people breeding morphs want their animals to get to breeding size as quickly as possible. So they're going to select for the ones that grow faster to get to the next generation. And now with, you know, who knows how many generations, probably 8, 9, maybe 10 generations, and many morph projects, we got these animals that just grow quite a bit faster. And, you know, not a bad thing. It's probably a good thing, of course, for people breeding boas. But something to bear in mind when you're comparing the growth rates of your locality boas and your morph boas. But this is a 2019 Pearl Island Boa, about 4 years old. The remaining snakes in today's video are all what I would consider to be adult size. They're going to continue to get a little bit larger, but not that much. These guys are all 2018 or earlier, and this is a 2018 born Junglow. This is a Jungle Hypo Col Albino, and this girl is probably about 7 feet. She's a good sized girl. Beautiful color. She's actually in shed right now, so her what's normally orangey is looking a little bit more purplish, and definitely a little overall she's got this milky sheen. And I thought I'd kill two birds with one stone, because somebody the other day asked me about what are the signs when albinos are going into shed, because they say they have an albino and it goes into shed, the eyes don't get cloudy, they can't tell. Well, when my albinos go into shed like this one, they have this cloudy, milky appearance overall. Hopefully it's coming through in the camera. But her colors have definitely changed now, based up, compared to when she has shed. And she'll probably shed in another few days. She'll have a much clearer appearance overall, but that milky appearance is what the albinos look like. And this, I love this female. She's really calm and gentle. She's not moving too much, but she is pretty big. I'd say, I don't know, probably at least 12, maybe even 15 pounds. She's a good thing to, pretty hefty animal to pick up. I did actually try to breed her this year with that Moonglow that I showed you earlier, but he had no interest in her. Not sure why, because she's definitely a beautiful looking female, but he wasn't interested. So I might try to breed her again next year, probably with a different boa, but we'll just have to see. This beautiful 5-year-old Junglow, Col Junglow female. Next we have a 2017 born boa. This is a VPI T positive albino male. This guy is about 6 years old. I'd say he's maybe 6.5 feet. Not quite as big as the 2018 female I showed you. And he's not going to get much bigger than this, if at all. But just a good size pet. No giant, of course. It's manageable, but obviously a very impressive animal. That you can really enjoy handling and get the full boa constrictor experience. And I love the beautiful lemon yellow colors of these VPI T positives. In my opinion, you don't need to add any other genes to have a beautiful animal. I like how they're kind of more natural looking than some of the other morphs. And this guy I paired up this year. With luck, he's got some babies incubating now. So hopefully in the next couple months we'll have some of his offspring on the ground. But keeping my fingers crossed. And of course I'll announce any births in upcoming episodes on this channel. Here we have another 2017 boa. This is a Marron Hypo Jungle. This girl's a little wild today. She's probably about the same length as the male I just showed you. Maybe a little bit bigger. The females tend to be a little longer as adults, but they also tend to be a little stockier. She's kind of got this very, thick appearance. She actually had her first litter last year, so she's not breeding this year. But hopefully she'll breed next year. So putting the weight back on, hopefully she'll convert this weight into lots of nice babies in 2024. But gives you an idea of the size of a 2017 6-year-old adult boa. And she's not going to get much bigger, if at all, than this. But good sized boa. About as big as an animal that I would want to handle by myself. And manageable, but still quite impressive. So it turns out I don't have any Boa Imperator born in the year 2016, but I thought I'd show you this 2015 Kubsch Pastel female. This is actually the mother of the first animal I showed you in the video. She's a good sized adult, I'd say about 7 feet, and don't expect her to get much bigger, although snakes do continue to grow throughout their lifetime, so she might put on a few more inches. And she's actually looking a little dark today. Typically she's a little more orange, beautiful colored animal, and had a really nice litter last year, and maybe breed her again next year. We'll just have to see. Thought I'd show you one more Boa Imperator for today's video, another full-grown adult. This is a 2015 born Sunglow Boa. He's about 8 years old. I'd say 7, maybe even 7.5 feet. Good size animal. You can see quite girthy, but very muscular. He's got this nice, lean, rectangular shaped body. You can just see the muscle there. And this guy is doing real well. Actually, I got this guy as an adult, actually in a trade with a friend of mine who was concerned he was a little aggressive, but he's been super chill with me so far, so I don't see any reason why he wouldn't continue to be super chill. But this guy, I'll probably put into breeding next year, maybe even with that Sunglow female I showed you earlier. And another reason I wanted to show you him is a lot of times people are asking about adult Sunglows because they see these beautiful pictures of these babies that have these incandescent colors. You can see the adults do lose some of the bright color. This guy certainly has gotten somewhat washed out as he's grown, but still a very nice boa. Nice, beautiful light yellow color with these orangey saddles. And of course he'll pass on the genes for both the Tail Albino and the Hypo to his offspring. So really good animal to have in my breeding group, and I'm glad that I was able to acquire him. And so your adult Boa Imperator might get a little bigger than this, maybe up to 8, rarely 9 feet. But this is a pretty typical size, large adult boa. Not all Boa Imperators, of course, are going to get this big, but it gives you a good idea about what to expect. So a lot of you guys have seen all the chatter and social media about how big a boa should be at certain sizes or certain ages. Hopefully this video has given you some real life examples to base your understanding on. And again, don't be overly concerned about the size of your boa. As long as it's growing slowly but steadily, it's probably fine. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. As always, shoot me any questions or comments you might have. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your boas.